Hey you guys, it's Carrie from My Table 3, and today I'm back with another Meal Prep Monday for you. Now for me, it's actually Sunday. I want to get this meal prep done for the week because I have a couple things I need to do as far as my vlog tomorrow. So I will do my meal prep on Sunday and share it with you for Meal Prep Monday. Today we're going to be working on 2 pork loins that I bought yesterday from Aldi. I'm going to show you how I prepare that for the freezer, and we're actually going to have one half of the pork loin today for lunch after church, and I'll show you how I prepare that and what it looks like when I serve it. And then the other 3 portions, I'm going to show you how I meal prep that so that we'll have those for future meals. So, yep, let me get started and show you what we're working with. Okay, guys, here's a little bit of my setup. These are going to be really simple. They're still in the package because I wanted to show you what it was. These are called half pork loins. They were at Aldi yesterday, and it wasn't a fabulous price, but it's not too bad. It's $1.89 a pound, and this one you can see is almost 5 pounds. So for a total of $8.98, and then this one was $9.88. It was the same price, but a little over 5 pounds. So normally I buy them. They come really long like this at Kroger. A lot of times I pick it up, and there's my dog. He's going to start hollering. Not yet, Miles, in a minute. So I will divide these in, and so about 2.5 pounds per meat for my family per dinner or per meal. So each one of these will be cut in half. I'm not going to measure to be exact. I'm just going to cut them down the middle as best I can, and then we're going to eat one today for dinner, and then later tonight we'll finish it off for supper. So lunch and dinner for some of you guys. But here in the South we say lunch and supper. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to roast half of it. I'm going to show you what our vegetable side looks like. I also got that at Aldi. Something new we're trying. And then I'll freeze the other half so I can roast it another night. And then this one I'm going to put in my slow cooker, and we're going to make a shredded barbecue pork, and that's just barbecue sauce, and then a couple onions, and I'm going to put it in here. I'll cook it for a few hours, probably 6 to 8 hours, until it's soft and shreddable. Then I'll drain what excess water or liquid or grease is on it, and then I will mix it with the barbecue of our choice. I will link below some recipes for some low carb and trim healthy mama barbecue sauces. This one I'll talk about a little bit later, so I'll show you that. The first thing I'm going to, and these are 2 onions that I'll put in the bottom here because we like onions cooked into our barbecue. So first thing I'm going to do is get these out of their plastic wrapper, get them cleaned up because I do like to rinse them, and then I'm going to divide them into 4 portions, and I will show you what I do after that. Okay guys, so here I have got all my pork loins cut in half. There's one, here's one, and I've cut up, these were 3 small onions. I mean, like really small. You saw 2 of them. But so you can do like 2 medium-sized one or one large, just however much onion you want, or you can totally leave them out. We just like the flavor of the onion that will be in our pulled pork. So, and I do apologize, there's not an exact measurement to this recipe, but I will put some directions in the below to get you started. Okay, so what I did is I used seasoning. I used garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. And I mixed it in this bowl, and I did a teaspoon and a half of garlic powder, teaspoon and a half of onion powder, and teaspoon and a half of salt. Now, if you don't like onion powder and garlic powder, you may think that's a lot. Well, this is a lot of meat. It's almost 10 pounds of meat. And that seasoning is just going to be on the outside. So you need a lot to permeate the meat, but by all means, cut it back. And I will say sometimes I really love rosemary or sage on my roasted pork, but I'm out. I have to do some shopping for those seasonal spices that I haven't yet. That's just my onion waste. I'll throw that in the compost bucket. This I am going to divide between one of these for the freezer and the rest for our slow cooker over here that I will do with the barbecue pork. So now let's focus. I've already seasoned these, and what I'm going to do, I told you that we're going to eat one today, and I've already seasoned it with this seasoning. And let me tell you, the reason I put it all in a bowl, measured out and put it in a bowl, you don't have to do that, but you know, when you're dealing with raw meats like I did with these, you have to wash your hands a lot. You have to make sure not to contaminate a lot of stuff, and I don't want raw meat on my hands and me forget and touch my spice containers and contaminate those. So I find it a lot easier just to measure out the spices and then grab sprinkle, grab, sprinkle. That way, if I contaminate this, it's all going to go on the pork. And the heat from the slow cooker or the oven is going to, you know, there's not going to be any germs. But see, if I touch the raw pork and then touch the knife or the spice container and don't wash my hands, that can get kind of gross. So this is just a tip that I like. Add your spices to the bowl when you're working with raw meats and do it from there. That way you don't cross-contaminate anything. Okay. So I seasoned both of these, all sides and the ends, really well with the garlic stuff. And I'm going to put this one in a freezer bag with some of the onions. And I will write on here, you know, roast pork loin, ready for oven, and then I'll put the oven temperature and how long. This will be like for one night when I'm at work. I can pull this out in the morning or the night before in the fridge and have it thawed, and then when it's time, about an hour before I come home from work, my husband can pull it out. He'll know it's already seasoned because I'll mark it on the bag. He'll put it in the oven at the temperature and bake it, and when I get home, I'll throw it together aside, and then we'll be done because we like it roasted like this. This one we are going to put in the crock pot. Let me see if I can start doing that now. I'm going to throw some onions in the bottom of my... Now, this is the insert for my crock pot. I don't have an Instant Pot, but wouldn't that be amazing if you could do it in like probably under an hour? But just kind of throw that in there. And I'm going to save this for that one we're going to roast. Okay. Then I'm going to put this meat on top. And then I'm going to come back and show you what that looks like in the crock pot and how I get that started and how I've dealt with these. I'll be right back. Okay guys, here is the 1/2 of pork loin that I have put some onions in, and I've just seasoned it up. I wrote on the other side what it was and how long to cook it for, and this will be just for my husband to pull out about an hour or so before I get home, and he'll preheat the oven to about 375 to 400. We'll talk about that later, and just bake it down. That way when I get home, I'll just have to throw together a quick side, and we'll have dinner without me, you know, working myself to kitchen. To death in the kitchen after I get off. So I'm going to put this in the freezer. So I'll set that aside. The other one is already, the one I had over here with it on the pan is already in the oven roasting at 400 degrees. And this one is the 2 halves that I had right here in the pan. I've already cleaned everything up, sterilized it, washed my hands really good because I'm not going to be touching pork anymore. I did use the remainder of the seasoning. That was the garlic powder, onion powder, and salt that I had mixed up in that bowl. I seasoned both of these halves really well. And you can see, it looks like 3 pieces, but it's not. I had to cut one of the pieces in half to fit it in this crock pot. We're only a family of 3, and so this is a smaller crock pot. I should have got the big one as much as I prepped. But this is a smaller one, so I had to cut it in half to fit. So I sprinkled onions on the bottom. I seasoned the pork loin very good. Put it in. Then I had a few onions left over that I didn't use in this one, so I just threw those on top. Now, as you can see, this pork loin has a fat cap or a layer of fat on the top of one side. The other side is just pink meat, and so it doesn't have a lot of fat. But this is a true S. So this is an S meal if you follow Trim Healthy Mama. It's a good fatty piece of meat if you're doing low carb. It's not extremely fatty, but it's definitely too fatty for an E. Don't get this confused with pork tenderloin, which is lean enough to go in an E meal if you follow Trim Healthy Mama. This is definitely not. If you wanted to trim off some of this fat beforehand, sure, you could do that. But when you're using something in a crock pot, we all know that meat can get dry really fast. So I leave the fat on to leave the flavor and the moisture in this meat as it cooks, because it's going to cook on low for 8 hours. This is a great meal that you can throw in the crock pot before you go to work or before you guys run out the door to go to family activity. And you come back, and for dinner, you'll just drain off the excess liquid and fat, shred it, and then add your barbecue sauce. And then, you know, you can have it on whatever low-carb bun or not low-carb bun or wrap or just over a salad. So I'm going to get this in the crock pot. I'm going to put the lid on it. And I'm going to insert it in my crock pot over there, and I'm going to put it on low, and I'm going to come back when it's finished and show you guys what that looks like. But first, we'll check in with you, and I'll show you what our lunch looks like with that pork loin I got in the oven roasting now. Okay, you guys, while my my pork loin is roasting in the oven for our lunch today, and the slow cooker is already over there set on low for 8 hours on that pulled pork that we're doing, I'm going to sit down with you for a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about cooking the pork loin to temperature and barbecue sauce choices. Now, as far as pork temperature, that is a pork loin, and I raised, it's a half a pork loin that I've cut in half, but don't get it mixed up with the pork tenderloin. I talked about that. So this is the S meal. I'll say that again. It is a higher fat meal. It's not ridiculously high in fat, but it's definitely too fatty for E. I said that before. I want to say it again just so it's clear. Now, as far as cooking the pork loin, I will tell you I cook mine on a high temperature of 400 degrees, and it usually takes between 40 and 45 minutes, but I can't tell you that exactly. I want to suggest to you guys to use a meat thermometer. A meat thermometer is the perfect tool to ensure that your meat cooks to temperature, but it doesn't get dry and just lose all its moisture, because even though you saw the fat cap, I know that sounds weird, don't it? We try so hard to get rid of fat caps or little fat places on our bodies, but it's very important to have those fat places on those tenderloins. Where did I get off on that? But anyway, it's very important to have that fat on that that pork loin, not tenderloin, loin, as you put it in the slow cooker. Probably even the Instapot, I haven't used it, but I'm assuming it would be the same thing. It can dry out, even though that fat's on the top, it can dry out really quickly. So a meat thermometer is your best friend when it comes to actually cooking any kind of meat. I suggest you get one. Does it have to be very expensive? I'll put a link to my Amazon affiliates below to show you a few of them that are good to work with and simple to work with, because you want your pork to cook thoroughly but not dry out. There is a certain safe temperature, and I keep them written down over there in my drawer on the index card, and I'm going to link below to the USDA site that tells you proper temperature. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think pork is 170, but like I said, check the link below. Don't take me on that. Check the USDA link below and see what temperature you need to cook it for, and then take it out a few degrees prior to that, cover it with foil and let it set, and it will continue cooking. Now don't take it out at 140 and expect it to hit 170 or whatever it is, but I'd say about 3 to 5 degrees lower than what it is supposed to be. Take it out, turn your oven off, cover it with foil, let it sit there and rest, because that's key too, to not dry out, and it will come to temperature. Now, as far as barbecue sauces, I will talk to you a little bit about that. I have never sat down and actually wrote down a recipe. I usually throw everything in a pot and taste as I go and adjust it. So because of that, I'm not going to share my barbecue sauce, because I've never written one down. I've never put one on the blog, but there are many of my friends who blog about Trim Healthy Mama and low carb that have, and I'm going to put links to those in below. Each one of them I mentioned today, I'm going to put links below. And then the store-bought ones I mentioned, I'll also put Amazon affiliate links below for those too. Mrs. McCriddle has a sweet southern barbecue, so if you're from the south or even from the north and you like your barbecue to be a little sweet and savory, you can check out Mrs. Criddle's Kitchen. I've tried that one. It is really yummy. I've tried a few of these. I can't remember which ones they were, so I won't mention all, but I have tried hers and I really love it. So that link will be below. You guys, I'm sure, are aware of Brianna Thomas. She has a recipe on her site for barbecue. Teresa over at Nana's Little Kitchen has a barbecue recipe. For those, and my friend Judy over at Wonderfully Made, Dearly Loved, she also has a barbecue sauce. So look below in the description, drop the little arrow down, and there'll be plenty of information that I'm sharing with you now there. So Judy's recipe, like I said, could be found on her website. And then if you're keto and watching this video, trying to prep, then you can check out Keto Connect, because I know they also have a wonderful barbecue sauce that is keto compliant. And if you happen to be paleo, or you just like to eat closer to a paleo diet, takes a few things out, you can look at Low Carb Yum, because I know she also has a low carb and paleo friendly barbecue sauce. So there are many there you can check out. All those links are below. If you are a drive-through Sue and you don't want to make any of yours, you can go over. I got an example of one. Now, these may not be for the purists, because some of them will have things like Splenda or maybe a little bit of cornstarch in it, but my son eats some. And so, like, this is G. Hughes barbecue sauce. It's sugar-free. This one does have, the last ingredient is Splenda. So this one I get for him. I just picked this one up actually yesterday because it was 99 cents. So sometimes I'll let him try this one with his chicken or chicken fingers. I know that there are, let me turn my list over. Walden Farms, which we've tried those. I'm not a fan of those, but I know some Trim Healthy Mamas are. But you can pick those up at any store. I think Walmart has them. Kroger's, I've seen them. And I don't know if Aldi has them or not. But Walden Farms, I wasn't a fan at all of any of their products. But You know, if that's something you want to try, you can give those a try. Or I think there's another one called Guys on Amazon. I'll try and link through those below. But again, look at those ingredients. They may not be something that you want to incorporate into your plan. So that's just a quick look on how to cook the pork loin and the barbecue sauce. I'm going to get back in the kitchen and get our lunch ready. And I'll come back at the end and show you how everything turns out. I just pulled this half of the pork loin that I cooked in the oven at 400 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes. I think it was about 45. Out of the oven. You can see why I use the foil. As you can see, it makes the all the fat melts away and it leaves a stain. So it's much easier to clean up if you use the foil. If you don't like using foil, because I know some of you don't, it's fine. Don't use the foil. Use whatever your choice or nothing at all. You can see how the fat on top is beautifully caramelized, and that will add delicious flavor. If you're not a fan of it, you can remove it, but why would you? It is so good. And then we're also going to have, can you see that? This is a medley I bought from Aldi's for the first time. It has wax beans, green beans, and carrots. Now, I am not a fan of carrots. You can't really see it, but it's a very pretty color. But my son loves carrots, and so I got that for him to try, and we're going to have that. And some of this sliced pork loin. But first, I'm going to cover this with foil and let it rest for about, probably about, I don't know, probably 5 to 8 minutes. So I'll show you what it looks like when we serve it. Okay, guys, so the pork loin has been cooking in the crock pot for about 6.5 or 7 hours. And look at that. Actually, yeah, about 7 hours. It looks and smells good. What you're looking for is that you can take a fork and just break it apart. And let's see. Oh yeah, see how that just is tender and it's just gonna flake apart like that. Let's see if I can. Kind of hard to do it in. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. And you see the natural juices in there. I didn't put any liquid in with this pork loin because it had enough fat on the top of the meat to cook out the moisture, keep it moist and the cooking liquid. So I'm just going to drain this into a bowl and I'm going to let this cool and shred it, and then I'll come back and show you how I add the barbecue sauce. Okay guys, I have the pork shredded. I'm going to show it to you. You just take 2 forks and you just work it until it's all shredded and that there's no big chunks. I'm going to stop stirring because the camera's not focusing. After you get it really shredded like this, and I haven't made a mess, you're just going to pour your barbecue sauce over it and then mix it in. So let me do that, and I will come back and show you what it looks like and how I start putting it in my bags. Okay guys, you can't hardly see, the lighting's pretty bad, but here is half of the pork, barbecue pork. I've already put one in a bag. I'm going to finish putting this in a bag, and then my freezer marker, looks like it has been on its last leg. I used it enough that it's probably worn out, but I'm going to finish putting this in this other bag, and I'm going to flatten it out like this and then put it in the freezer, and we'll have 2 meals that we can just pull out and thaw and then have on low-carb buns or on a salad. So that is my pulled pork, and I'll show you a picture of both packs before I put them in the freezer.